Would you like to make a kiwi strawberry mead? How about a blueberry vanilla?
Several months ago, Eric and Derek released a video explaining how to make every mead. Any mead for that matter. Unfortunately, that video is chock full of mistakes, miscalculations, and errors. So we would just like to take this opportunity to repolish that video, remaster it, and fix up and comment on a lot of those errors. So thank you for watching.
So today, we're gonna show you how to make any mead.
Any mead?
Any mead.
Disclaimer, disclaimer. This is not the end-all be-all to making mead.
We don't intend this video to be the comprehensive guide to mead making. There are thousands, if not millions, of mead recipes out there. And many of those recipes use some very specific and very different techniques. And any mead you make using one of those recipes may be much more better than the mead that you make using these techniques.
This is just a starting point to making your own style of meads.
So start here, but don't end here. After this, grow, experiment,
Learn.
and enjoy.
Let's get started.
There's 4 steps to making any mead. Step 1, primary. Step 2, secondary.
Secondary? We've never done a secondary.
We haven't ever done secondary.
So what's the secondary?
Secondary fermentation is a bit of a misnomer. There's usually not much fermentation going on. Secondary comes after fermentation, and it's sort of a staging point before bottling. You use secondary for clearing, for aging, for adding flavorings.
Hey, isn't that where you back sweeten?
Yes, back sweetening. Stabilizing and back sweetening is also in secondary. After secondary is an optional step. Tertiary. Tertiary.
Tertiary?
This word right here, I don't know how to say it. Step 4, bottling. To dive a bit deeper, step 1, primary. Make a basic traditional mead.
Hey, we made one of those. That's
like the one in our video. I'll put a link in.
it's here.
It's here. I'll put a link up here to our traditional bomb. Make that. Step 2, secondary. Whatever kind of mead you want to make, add it to secondary and rack primary on top of that. If you want to make kiwi strawberry, add kiwi strawberries to secondary and rack primary on top. If you want to make apple cinnamon, add apples and cinnamon to secondary, rack that on top. Step 3, optional. Third
step.
Step 3, rack your mead off of the fruit into a clean vessel and let it clear. Step 4.
I don't know about you, but I really like a clear mead.
Clear mead is magical. Step 4, bottle. Now there are a few addendums that we'll add to this, but we'll get into that a little later. We're kidding, it's plastic. We're going to demonstrate this with 2 meads. We're making a berry medley and a mango. Now we normally work in 5-gallon batches, so everything from here on out is measured for 5 gallons. We're going to start with the berry medley. Now if you want light fruit flavor, you want to add 10 pounds. If you want full fruit, add 15 pounds. If you want extra fruit, add 20 pounds. Now I want these berries to jump out of glass and punch me in the face.
So let me guess, you want 20
Eric in his 5-gallon batches. Remember to scale down if you're only doing 1-gallon batches.
So let me guess, you want 20 pounds.
We're adding 20 pounds. I have a random assortment of frozen and then thawed berries, blackberries, strawberries, cherries.
But 20 pounds, man. 20 pounds, isn't it going to add a lot of sugar? It's going to be super sweet.
It is going to be sweet, but you won't perceive it as sweet because the tannins from the seeds and the acids from the berries will counterbalance that.
So the seeds counteract the sweetness in the
tannins and acids counteract the sweetness. So even though it will be really sweet, you won't perceive it as really sweet. Trust me, it'll be fine.
Interesting.
So we're adding 20 pounds of mixed berries. Just a random assortment. have some scissors. Just add those right to the fermenter, and then we're going to rack our mead straight on top of that.
Bigger holes.
And now we have all our berries in the secondary. Now we're going to reframe and we're going to rack our primary on top of this. It's very, very important that we have as little headspace as possible.
We're hoping. Problem there.
We hope not. I'm hoping we have leftover mead, because the more headspace you have, the more opportunity you have for oxygen to be introduced. And oxygen is a bad, bad thing after fermentation. So we'll see you over here. So the berry medley is done. I'm gonna let that sit in the closet for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we're gonna bottle it. And now let's move on to the mango. Once again, I want these mangoes to literally jump out of the glass and punch me in the face.
So let me guess, we're adding another 20 pounds.
20 pounds of mangoes.
Wait, there's no seeds in the mangoes, man. What's gonna counteract the sweetness?
That's a really good question. If you're adding fruit that doesn't have any seeds or tannins or acidity or tartness, you want to counteract that sweetness somehow. Otherwise, this is going to be too sweet. We're going to do this with oak.
Oh, it's too easy, man. We got an oak tree out front.
No, we can't. Well, okay, granted that would work, but we're not doing it like that. I bought Zolker's American Oak Spears. We're gonna add 3 of these. We're gonna add 3 milliliters of liquid oak tannin, and we're gonna let it sit for 2 or 3 months.
What a glaring error. It's 3 oak spears and 3 milliliters of liquid tannin per gallon. So, for a 5-gallon batch, that's 15 oak spears and 15 milliliters of liquid tannin.
Yeah, we're like best friends.
So you really did play D&D with Michael Bolton? You do.
Then we're gonna add 3 of these Zolker balls.
15 oak spears, Eric. 15.
Ah,
3 of them?
3 balls. 3 balls in there. Just toss them in there. Now put 3 milliliters of that.
15! 1, 5!
Do we have a measuring thing? Which is a milliliter?
A lot. 3 milliliters?
By the gods. I give up. I've had enough. 15 milliliters!
The mead that's supposed to go in here is in the garage. So we're gonna take this out there and we're gonna rack the mead onto it, and we'll see you after. And that's it. How to make any mead.
Well, almost any mead.
Almost any mead. Just follow the 4-step process, the 3-step process with an optional 4th step. Primary, secondary, tertiary,
Tertiary.
and bottling. With the fruit, For light fruit flavor, 10 pounds for 5 gallons. For full fruit flavor, 15 pounds. For extra fruit, 20 pounds. Now there are a few addendums. You have to ask yourself, is this fruit all sweetness and no sour, like mango? If it's all sweet, then you're gonna have to find some way to counterbalance that sweetness. Easiest way is with oak. Add your 3 Zoker's oak spheres and your 3 milliliters of liquid oak tannin, vanilla. Age it for 2 or 3 months.
Per gallon. 3 spheres, 3 milliliters per gallon. Per gallon. 3. 3 of each per gallon. What is so difficult to understand?
If you're adding fruit that has sweet and sour or sweet and bitter, like kiwi or sour apples, lemons, citrus is a category all in itself. If you're adding citrus fruit, add the zest, the flesh, and the juice of 1 fruit per gallon. If you want extra, double that. If you want half, if you want light, half that.
So what about pineapple?
Pineapple is very sweet, but also very acidic. I'd add pineapple and call it good. If you're using fruit that has sweetness and sourness, or sweetness and bitterness, no other steps are needed. Just add the fruit and enjoy. Now I do have a few tips on spices. If you'd like to add cinnamon, add 1 stick per gallon. If you want to add clove, add 3 cloves per 5 gallon. Clove is a very powerful flavor and it will very easily dominate your mead, and if you use too much, it'll ruin it. If you want to add hibiscus, make a hibiscus tea and use the tea instead of water. Use 1 pound per gallon.
1 pound of hibiscus per gallon? Oh my god, Eric, are you serious? I could see maybe 1 pound of hibiscus for a 5-gallon batch, but for 1, that is way too much if you ask me. Don't use 1 pound of hibiscus per gallon. That's just silly. If you're feeling dangerous, try 1 pound for a 5-gallon batch, but that's at your own risk. And please also note that using a hibiscus tea as opposed to water may cause you some trouble and some complications as well. You know, perhaps a stuck fermentation because your pH is going to be all over the map. So you'll probably want to balance your pH a little bit before you pitch your yeast if you are going to go that route.
If you'd like to make a coffee mead, cold brew your coffee and use coffee instead of water.
Now that sounds delicious.
That does sound wonderful. Maybe we'll make a coffee mead soon.
That sounds great.
Let's do it.
Let's do that.
I forgot to mention vanilla. If you would like to add vanilla to your mead, add 1 whole bean per gallon. 5 beans for a 5-gallon batch. Split the bean down the middle and maybe scrape out some of that gunk on the inside. Let it sit in secondary for 2 weeks.